God is very clear in saying to us, why do you continue to be hoarders when there are so many people in the world who are starving and broken? God says that those people who persist in being hoarders when the world is broken and weak are stealing from those broken people and crushing the oppressed and the poor. And we, the church, cannot stand by silently while that is happening. We must respond to it. We must warn people, and we ourselves must be aware that the accumulation of earthly goods brings destruction and sadness and grief to ourselves and to the whole world. And I want you to know that the church does respond to that. It responds powerfully and wisely. I want to tell you a little bit about one thing that the church has done that makes all of us realize what our true values in life should be. In 2007, the World Alliance of Reformed Churches met in Accra in Ghana, and there they discussed the economic policies of the wealthiest nations of the world, and they came to conclusions which are striking and shocking about the world in which we live today and about the economic systems that we have created based on our tendency to hoard things for ourselves. In paragraph 7 of what we call the Accra document, the World Alliance of Reformed Churches says this: we live in a scandalous world that denies God's call to life for all. The annual income of the richest 1% is equal to that of the poorest 57%. That's the end result of hoarding. 1% of the people in this world are making more money than nearly the poorest 60% of the entire population of the earth. We are living today with a false economy, an economy which sometimes we refer to as a trickle-down economy, which says that if you make multinational corporations wealthy, then the money in those corporations will trickle down to the rest of the people. And it's a wonderful theory when you relieve the tax burden of those corporations and you liberalize trade procedures around the world. Those multinational corporations are capable of hoarding billions upon billions of dollars. It works really well, except for one part. The trickle-down part doesn't work so good. Those corporations are not like sieves. They have plugged all the holes, and nothing is trickling down. Since the inception of NAFTA and free trade and the liberalization of trade laws, multinational corporations have drained huge amounts of money out of entire nations and left in poverty and despair billions of human beings who are God's children all across the face of this planet. The Accra document points out that it is neoliberal economic globalization which has created poverty in the world. And poverty is of extreme interest to Almighty God and to Jesus Christ and to all people who say that they are Christians, or all people of every religion who claim that they believe in a God who is love. And we need to be deeply and powerfully concerned. We have created economies which allow unrestrained competition, consumerism, unlimited economic growth. Profit takes precedent over human suffering. That's wrong. It is broken. It leads to pain and hunger and sickness and starvation and death for millions. Somewhere between 25,000 and 30,000 children die every day of hunger. Not because there isn't enough food in the world to feed them, but because if selling food to them at a fair price does not earn a profit for the corporations we have created, then no food is sold to them. Their lives are not as significant as our need to facilitate the profit-making ventures of the corporations we allow to exist. Surely at this point we recognize that is wrong. Paragraph 17 of the ACRA document states, "We believe in God, creator and sustainer of all life, who calls us as partners in the creation and redemption of the world. We live under the promise that Jesus Christ came so that all might have life in fullness. And we must dedicate ourselves as a church to speaking against economic policies which at a global level create poverty, hunger, and death. We must reject the rampant consumerism and the competitive greed and selfishness of the present neoliberal global economy, which is based on the right of a few people to hoard while millions die." What are we going to do about that? Well, I'll tell you what we should all do. Church is over today. We should all drive into Toronto. And I want you to all line up outside the security fence. And you need to shout out to those G8 leaders, enough is enough. And there is a powerful and legitimate need to protest within earshot of those leaders. Now, I'll give you an option to that. If you don't want to go and protest. If you don't want to get pepper sprayed or blasted with that sound gun or shot with rubber bullets. And I say with terrible sadness that the legitimate protest against the G8 in Toronto has been subverted and destroyed by people protesting nonsense and protesting it in a way which entails completely unjustified violence, destructiveness, hooliganism, vandalism. And it's such a pity, because Canada is a nation where you can protest peacefully, and that's beautiful. And there are things that need to be protested powerfully. But the legitimate process has been lost. We have another way to protest. By raising our voices reasonably and rationally and saying to the G8 governments, we want you to create global economic systems which include the rights of the poor. It's a really simple thing. It wouldn't take very much to allow a global economy that would give a little bit of food and water and education and medicine to those who are most in need. But we need to get over our tendency to hoard for ourselves because we're so afraid of poverty for ourselves. A wonderful thing happened on June the 18th of this year. Just a little over a week ago, the World Alliance of Reformed Churches and the Reformed Ecumenical Council joined together. That is basically all the Presbyterians in the world. And we created the World Communion of Reformed Churches. 80 million